It started just after midnight. Rain tapped nervously against the windows of an upscale high-rise apartment complex on the west side of the city. One of those glass and steel buildings that looked more like corporate headquarters than homes. Inside apartment 1907, everything was silent, still, except for the quiet click of gloves against metal. The lock gave way after only 30 seconds. A shadow moved through the apartment like vapor, precise, confident, fast. No mess, no drawers pulled. It's one target, the wall-mounted safe behind a framed abstract painting in the study. Nothing else disturbed. No fingerprints, no forced windows, no sign of violence. Within 5 minutes, the job was done. The intruder was gone, but the contents of the safe was gone. And what had been inside wasn't money. It was information. Detective Brown arrived on scene by 6 a.m. The call came while he was halfway through his second cup of black coffee, his eyes still foggy with the sleep he didn't get. But now, stepping through the sleek lobby and up to the 19th floor, he was sharp. Something about early morning crime scenes. They always told the truth before the world had time to cover it up. Brown rubbed a hand over his 3-day stubble, his dark hair still damp from the rain. The apartment belonged to Cameron Wells, a cybersecurity consultant with former ties to the Defense Department. That already made things complicated. But when Brown asked what was in the safe, the man went cold. Wells was jittery, pacing with a phone in one hand, muttering about protocol breaches and data threats. Just personal files, important but private. Private, like IRS important, or federal important. Professional. Wells didn't answer. In the concrete stairwell near the service exit, Brown noticed something odd. A faint scrape marked low on the wall, and beneath it, a smudge of white, chalky residue. "Let's get this tested," Brown said to the tech. "Also, check traffic cams around midnight." He didn't like how quiet the scene was. A break-in, this clean, wasn't someone stealing jewelry. This was surgical. And something told him Wells was hiding more than he was saying. By the third day, Brown had chased 3 dead ends. The first was a suspicious maintenance worker, Jake Delaney, who'd recently been fired and had access codes. But he had a solid alibi. He'd been arrested for DUI across town the night of the break-in. No gaps, no motive strong enough to justify a surgical strike on a safe. Next, a jealous ex, Marissa Lane, with a restraining order. But surveillance footage showed her at work in a downtown nightclub. The third was a supposed activist group that Wells had reportedly clashed with online. Data Unleashed. A gray hat collective obsessed with government transparency. But they denied involvement and leaked screenshots suggesting Wells had once supported their mission. The deeper Brown dug, the murkier Wells' story became. Finally, on a hunch, Brown returned to the building alone that night, retracing the intruder's probable path. Keying the stairwell, behind a loose utility panel, he found a small piece of black tape, stuck to the metal, almost invisible. On it, a tiny printed QR code, no larger than a postage stamp, encrypted. That wasn't something an angry ex would leave behind. Brown visited Liza Vega, a former FBI code analyst, now living off-grid outside the city. She owed him a favor. In her cluttered cabin, surrounded by monitors and wires, Liza scanned the code. "This isn't standard encryption," she said. "It's modular. Layered. Government grade, but customized. Something someone inside would have built." She paused, frowning. "It links to an old set of comms protocols, same system used in the Kinsley breach back in 2014. You remember that one?" Brown's jaw tightened. He remembered. The Kinsley case had nearly collapsed a counterintelligence operation. The mole was never found, only assumed dead after vanishing in the Caymans. "Wells worked cyber defense in that era, didn't he?" Brown asked. "You're dealing with someone trying to finish what started 10 years ago." Liza nodded. "If this break-in is tied to that, you're not dealing with a burglar." Suddenly, Wells' secrecy made more sense. But it raised a new, dangerous question. Was Wells the target or the traitor? Brown confronted Wells with the code. The man crumbled. "It was supposed to be over," he said, shaking. "That file, it was a dead switch. If I was ever compromised, it would leak everything. Names, methods, accounts. Why would someone want it now?" Wells hesitated. "Because someone thinks I still have access." It was only years later that he understood what he'd done. He admitted he had once helped cover tracks for the mole in 2014, not knowingly. "But by running decoy encryptions under pressure from above, I kept the file as insurance. I never opened it. I never wanted to know. And now someone wanted it." Brown wasn't convinced Wells was innocent. Not entirely. That server belonged to Riley Shore, a retired intelligence officer presumed dead, but now very much active. They traced the signal from the QR code. It pinged off a relay server registered in Baltimore. And now, after a decade in hiding, they'd come back for the only loose end left, the blackmail file. Brown finally saw the picture forming. Shore was the original mole. The break-in wasn't just theft, it was a retrieval. Brown tracked the relay server as exit route to an abandoned tech hub on the industrial edge of the city. He arrived just before midnight. Inside, he found the place dark, except for a glow from a single monitor. On it, the decrypted contents of Wells' file. And beside it, a person, hooded, older, but unmistakably Riley Shore. "I had to come back," Shore said calmly. "I couldn't let it live out there. Not with him holding it like a threat." "Was killed to protect it?" Brown asked. "No, I retrieved what was mine." Brown hesitated. "And now, what?" Shore smiled. "Now, I disappear again." But just as they spoke, sirens blared outside. Brown had tipped off the feds an hour before arriving. One last thing caught his eye, a name buried deep in the file's metadata. "Too late," he said. "You're not going anywhere." Shore was led away. Brown stared at the monitor. "See? Wells' authorized access level." Red Wells had known more than he said. He wasn't just a pawn. He had been part of it, willingly. Brown lit a cigarette and looked out over the industrial skyline. Another lie. Another betrayal. But the file was secured. And the past was finally buried. For now.